What's good, YouTube, and welcome to another Kaiba Hack Starts Yu-Gi-Oh video. Today we're here with another top 10, and it's going to be the top 10 worst burn cards. Now, there's a lot of burn cards out there. Some are just mediocre. Of course, you have Sparks. We're not even going to put Sparks in the list because, you know, it's just too lazy. It's too lazy. But we'll go straight into it. Coming in at the number 10 spot here, Boganian. Now, this is a dirty little card, and I used to run this back in the day when I was a little kid. I used to have a Boganian, and I was like, this is a good card. Breaking news, it is not that good of a card. It wasn't really back then, it isn't now for sure. Of course, you know, Boganian, he's a machine, level 3, dark. During each of your standby phases, inflict 600 damage to your opponent. It's not that good, you know what I mean? You could maybe get one of these off. Especially, like, you're summoning him, you gotta wait till next turn, no matter what. He's just a terrible card. You're maybe gonna get 600 if you can keep him around once, and then what? You know what I mean? He's not worth it. There's so many better burn cards, or at least burn monsters, that you could do a lot better tech with. He doesn't have that much attack, not that much defense. Overall, he's just not that good. Next, we have Coffin Seller. Now, this could be a G card, but it suffers from kind of what Boganian does. It can be taken out pretty easily, and you got to wait for some time for it to hit in. And it's only 300 damage per monster, so you know you could maybe get a couple hits off if they're going through a bunch of plays. But like I said, it is just open for hits, and it's not that big of much damage. You know, Coffin Seller, it's not doing heat out here. It's doing a little bit in the background, and there's just better cards that do it. There's cards that are like, each time a card is sent to the graveyard, or each time, you know what I mean? There's a lot better than just your opponent each time a monster goes there. Now, this one is just absolutely terrible. Coming in at the number 8 spot here is just terrible. The Dora of Fate. You can only activate this card during your opponent's turn. Select one face-up monster on your opponent's side of the field. When you successfully normal summoned a monster that is one level lower than that selected monster during your next turn, inflict damage to your opponent's life points equal to the level of the selected monster times 500. So it literally, there's so many steps you have to go through. I guess if you could somehow get a level 10 monster on their side of the field and then do some weird stuff on your turn, you could maybe pop off, but it seems like a lot of resources would have to go into this to make it do anything, and so much setup would have to be done. Like, I guess you really could go in for something big if you could get like a god card on their side of the field, you know, sphere mode, and then something that's, you know, a level lower. There really is some weird plays that could maybe come out of it. But as a baseline, it's just kind of a stinky card. Like, I think you'd really have to build a deck around the Dora of Fate. But it could be cool. And then it falls into a similar line of just wackiness with the Vicious Claw, coming in number 7 here. And, you know, the Vicious Claw, like I said, it's real strange too. The equipped monster gains 300 attack. If the equipped monster would be destroyed by battle, return this card to the owner's hand instead. Then destroy one monster, except the one that battled the equipped monster, and then inflict 600 damage to your opponent. After that, special summon one evil token on your side of the field during the end of this turn. Or during the end of this turn, this card is returned to your hand. You cannot use Vicious Claw from your hand. So it's some very strange plays. It's like Vicious Claw, it seems like there maybe could be something there, but there probably isn't. Like, if you built, like, an entire deck around this with maybe some weird play of, like, putting it on their monster or something to get evil tokens and then getting it back, I don't know. Like, there's some weird... There's some weird tech that could come out of Vicious Claw, and it's just a strange card overall. Next, coming in at the number 6 spot here, we got Mecha Bunny. Now, Mecha Bunny is another one of those cards that I used to rock just for the jokes when I had like a little crappy burn deck back in the day. But, you know, Mecha Bunny, when this card is flipped face up, select one card on the field and inflict 500 damage to its controller. When this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon one Mecha Bunny from your deck in face down defense position. So there's a whole bunch of things wrong with Mecha Bunny. Obviously, he's not that big of a monster. He's low level. But then obviously, he's not even a flip monster. It's when this card is flip face up, and they have to have something on the field for you to do that damage to get that 500 in. And then when this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, so if they know, they're probably not going to destroy it by battle, and even if they do, not that big of a deal. It's just another Mecha Bunny and another 500 damage. It'd be at least a bit better if you could bring out 2 Mecha Bunnies at once, but you can't. You can only special summon 1 Mecha Bunny, so at least if you could tech off of it a bit and get 2 out of it, it'd be a bit better. But as it stands, Mecha Bunny is a pretty slow play, and he's not going to help you with much getting in a burn deck. Coming in at the number 5 spot, we got Jinzo Lord. Now, Jinzo Lord, he was a good attempt at making a card better, but it's just kind of wonky. Jinzo is already pretty G, a legendary card throughout time. You can't do anything with traps when Jinzo's on the field. But this card cannot be normal summon / set, must be special summoned from your hand by sending 1 face-up Jinzo you control to the graveyard. Trap cards and their effects on the field cannot be activated. Negate all trap effects on the field. Once per turn, you can destroy as many face-up traps on the field as possible, and if you do, inflict 300 damage to your opponent for each card destroyed. Now, it's such a weird effect. They literally could have did anything else with Jinzo, but they made it so you have to almost run traps in contingency with this. And I guess you could use it once to clear out their board of stuff if they have some face-up traps, but then they're not going to do anything again. So, you're probably maybe going to get, 600 out of this, and then that's it. And that's if you're lucky. And Jinzo's not... There's no point in running this just to beef up your Jinzo a little bit, just to have something do maybe 300 for cards you're probably not running if you're running Jinzo. At least if you're running a more Jinzo-based deck. Coming in at number 4, another great, beautiful little card here that I also used to rock in my little crappy burn deck when I was young, the Abaki. He's a fire monster, level 4, and he's just beautiful. Look at him, Fiend effect. When this card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, both players take 500 damage. Now, obviously, back in the day, I had 1 copy of this card. I had some other crappy cards too, like I said, and it'd just throw together anything that did damage. I think I even had Sparks in that deck back in the day, because it was just me trying to figure out how to do burn damage. But Abaki is a weird little one. I guess it isn't a once per turn, so if you could figure out some way to keep destroying him, you could do a bunch of damage to both players. There's some weird tech that maybe could come from Abaki. Plus, he's just a goofy little card. He had decent attack for when he came out, not too bad. Okay-ish defense. He's a Baki. He beefs out that damage. That's just the way he goes. Now this one dirty is one of the dirtiest of all time. Coming in at number 3. Gravekeeper's Retribution. Continuous trap card. During each of your standby phases, inflict 100 points of direct damage to your opponent's life points for each opponent's monster that has been removed from play. Now, in normal stances, most likely this isn't going to be a useful card. Unless you're building an entire deck around removing their monsters from play, it's not really going to do much. And then even if you had, say, 20 monsters in there, 2,000, and then they're probably just going to hit it with something. I don't think they're going to let this stay on the field that long. But it's possible, like I said, a lot of these cards, if you maybe built a deck specifically around it, it could have some use, but... you got to dream big, you got to be creative with those cards and figure out what works. But Grave Robber's Retribution, as it stands, not that useful of a card. Next, at number 2, Full Salvo. Another one of those classics that, it used to have some half-decency to it. Now there's not much. Unless you can really fill your hand up to get this effect to go off, it's not much. Which, after the activation of this card, send your entire hand to the graveyard and inflict 200 for each card in your hand. Sent to the graveyard. So, obviously, with this, going to the graveyard, you maybe have 5 other cards in your hand. You can do 1,000 for it. Most likely, you're going to have less, especially if it's late game. You're probably going to draw into this and have nothing, and then you're just going to be sitting there waiting to maybe do 200 damage next turn. So it is just a huge waste of space when it comes to cards, unless you can find some creative way to fill your hand up. But even then, it's not too useful of a card. Coming in at the number 1 spot, Attack and Receive. The worst burn card I've probably ever seen. This thing is just ridiculous. You can activate this card when you take damage to your life points. Inflict 700 points of direct damage to your opponent's life points. In addition, inflict 300 points of direct damage to their life points if there are additional Attack and Receive cards in the graveyard. So you basically got to fill up on these to get the max potential out of it. It isn't too useful of a card, and getting more of these in the graveyard is just a hassle too. You got to go 3 turns to maybe get that 13 off, and it really is just terrible. It's going to take up so much space, and there's not really a way to like maximize potential on this. At least with like Full Salvo and the Grave Robber's Retribution, there is possible ways that you could maximize that potential, and it could keep expanding. But this is just terrible. To get 700 points and then just that's it. There's so many other cards that you could just tech into or have more damage than that. And overall, those are the 10 worst burn cards in my opinion. If you think I missed anything, if you have any crazy, wacky, stupid burn cards that you know of other than like Sparks or the similar stupid ones like that, let me know. Because if there is some wacky ones like this that can maybe have potential, but by themselves and pretty much overall, they're just terrible. So like I said, let me know if you think there's anything I missed. Make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. These were your 10 worst burn cards. Hit that little notification bell, and make sure to check out the other videos. Thanks for watching. Peace.